All right, Frank Bonada here for Low Kick MMA. Joining me today is Cage Warriors bantamweight Nathan Fletcher, who's set to finally return to action. The Cage Warriors New Year's Eve card coming up soon. Thank you for your time today, mate. How's it going, and what have you been up to today?
Yeah, it's going well. Thank you for having me on, mate. I've just got back from training then. As you know, I'll give you a quick ring before.
Mm.
Rushed home, just got fresh out of the shower. Done my last little glove sparring session today before the fight. So that's always an intense one. Do you know what I mean? That's the
Mm.
fight pace. That's what we're looking for in today's session. And I'm really happy with how many rounds went. So I'm firing on all cylinders and I'm ready to go now. New Year's Eve is going to be a special night.
Brilliant. Who you've been sparring with today then? Who was the
So obviously the gym's quite quiet now because
Yeah.
a lot of the team have just fought. The guys are just getting back from Vegas. Obviously they've been over there with Paddy. But luckily for me, Liam Gittins is a game kid and he's fresh off a win, first round win in November. He's been straight back in the gym helping me out for this camp. And it's actually really good because he's quite stylistically similar to the kid
Mm.
I'm fighting, quite an aggressive, come forward striking style, which is obviously similar to Giordano. So I've been very lucky to have Liam coming in and punching holes in me every day.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about this later, but we'll go straight into it. Cage Warriors 145, the Manchester card, right? Which I think you were in attendance, right? Because it was one of my first ones for Cage Warriors as press, which I, incredible event. And we had Luke Riley, Adam Cullen, and Liam Gittins all picking up really impressive wins. What did you take away from that card? Because obviously you're there in person, you get your team sort of all like, picking up really impressive wins, but you were meant to be fighting around that time and it must be maybe a little bit bittersweet. Is that?
Yeah, I think you could take it like that. Like this year as a whole has been difficult for me
Yeah.
because I've been sat on the sidelines and a lot of my teammates have been thriving and doing well and progressing on in their careers. And obviously I'm absolutely made up for them and it's boss to see. But you can kind of look at it two ways, like, that should be me in there, like I
Mm.
should get my moment. Fortunately, when that fight night happened on the Saturday, I was already matched for New Year's Eve. So that fight week was crazy for me. I was meant to fight on the card before the Paul
Hmm.
Hughes Vucenic card against Cameron Else, and then he pulled out about 3 weeks out. Went through multiple names, current Cage Warriors fighters. Not a single one of them took the fight with me. So Cage Warriors said, "All right, we'll push you back to Manchester." Now, obviously, I was just game to get a fight, but that's not ideal for me because you put me on a Manchester card 6 weeks notice. I'm going to sell hundreds of tickets because
Mm.
it's not far from where I live. So I'm trying to move all my mates over, get people new tickets now who can come because the date's changed. And the Tuesday of that week, still no opponent. Ian calls me and says, "Look, mate, it's not going to happen. Like we can't get anyone to take the fight." Um, so at that point, I'm heartbroken. I'm thinking another obstacle I'm going to have to overcome here. I could be sat out till maybe March, April next year now, having already spent 14 months out the cage. And then he rang me back later on that evening, was like, "What about New Year's Eve? We've got a fight there. There's a bantamweight, 6-1, same record as you, looking for a fight." I said, "Too right, I'll take that. Like anything I can take to get in this year." So I jumped to that opportunity, and then going to watch my mates fight on the Saturday, it wasn't too bad because I had that in the back of my mind now. So I just took motivation from seeing all them smash it, and I've carried that with me in the last sort of 4 or 5 weeks where I've been grinding through for this fight. So that
Mm.
was a good night in Manchester.
It was a good night, even just from a fan's perspective. The whole yeah, it was a great night. Just before we go on to your opponent, any interest in trying to rebook Cameron Else? Just because, UFC veteran, it's always a good name to have, I think, for like Cage Warriors fighters to have on their record. Obviously, there's some history of Paddy there as well. And is that a fight you want to get back at all?
Yeah, definitely. I was made up when I got that name. That
Yeah.
that come from in July. My opponent never turned up, so again heartbroken. And Ian
Mm.
Dean comes with some good news and says, "What about Cameron Else for the November card? It's a big card. It's huge Vucenic too, and here's a former UFC veteran to sort of springboard my career back into the top of European MMA."
Hmm.
But a weird one with him. He pulled out 3 4 weeks out with no reason, no injury, and then we actually had a bit of back and forth online in DMs. Where he was trying to give me shit, even though he'd backed out of the fight. So he's a bit of a, I don't know, he's a waste of time. And like, I'd be happy to fight him, but I don't know if I'd put myself in the position for him to just pull out again. Do you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
plenty of other fights in my division what I'm interested in. So we'll see what happens. But if Cage Warriors want to do it again and they can, like, you know what I mean, guarantee me that he's not going to go running, I definitely would be interested in that fight.
Absolutely. Um, was it a sort of a, obviously this, well, not in past years, past 14 months, a shock to the system in a way, because like since you've gone pro and even when you're in your amateurs, you've had a pretty intense sort of strength of schedule. So yeah, what was it a bit like? Yeah, just a shock to the system, shock to what you're used to. Um,
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was. I think like I speak to my mates about this all the time. Like I had a pretty smooth run, do you know what I
yeah.
mean? Through amateur to pro, like not a lot went wrong for me. I didn't really get any injuries, a couple of knocks here and there, but I was fight after fight after fight. I was building my win streak, I was building my brand, building my profile, and and then it all come at once: the loss, the injury, the pullouts, the time out of the cage. So it's just kind of one of those things, and it was bound to happen at some point. And unfortunately for me, all the sort of adversity come in one year. But from that, I feel I've grown so much. Like if say if I took one of those adversities, losing the fight, and I'd managed to get right back in there and build on, or maybe I got injured and I built back from that and got a fight and got right back in there. I don't feel I would have grown as much as dealing with all this hardship that I've had to face. I feel like my growth's just going to be exponential from this, and I feel like this period of time in particular has sort of prepared me to go forward and have the career that I'm going to have now. I truly believe that. I truly believe I'm going to come back with a big bang on New Year's Eve, put on a spectacular performance, and then my career is just going to take off from there onwards.
Now, is that growth more in that like your mentality and your mindset towards the game is stronger, or I mean, it's probably both to an extent, but how much have you evolved as a fighter over that time as well?
Yeah, definitely. So skill set is one of the main things I think I've improved on. I think you're going to see a completely different version of myself on the next step in the cage. I'm a lot more confident in the striking department now.
Right.
I'm a lot smoother with my takedown entries. My jiu-jitsu's constantly improving. I've got my brown belt since I left, since I last fought. So,
Congratulations.
um, thank you very much. Nice one. But yeah, I feel like I've improved in all areas skill wise, and then mentally, that's probably the biggest growth I've had. I feel like even outside of fighting, just as a man, I've matured a lot this year because one of my favorite quotes, it says it's difficulty strengthen the mind as labor does the body, and like I genuinely feel like I'm constantly going through the physicality and improving my body, but like the mental strength, like I've never really had to overcome major adversity. So
Mm.
it was all well and good leading up to this year. Like I could preach I'm mentally tough and I'm good at dealing with adversity and stuff, but to actually go through it and put into practice everything you've learned, that's the difficult part. But I feel like I've been living all the philosophy that I've been reading, so I'm ready now. I'm ready as ever to go on and have the career that I'm destined to have.
Brilliant. Yeah, that's fascinating to hear. Okay, just going off a little bit. What was your original pathway into MMA? Now I think I've heard you say in an interview before that you actually did some wrestling like prior to, yeah, because
Yeah,
like you have this like feels like age old preconception that UK fighters can't wrestle and all that. But yeah, your background actually is in wrestling.
yeah. So well, initially I got into MMA. So
Right.
I went to a local gym by mine called the Dog Pit, and one of my mates, Kieran, at the time was training there, and he was like the hard boy in school. Do you know what I mean? No one wanted to mess with Kieran, so I quickly latched onto him and was like, right, I need to learn everything you know, bro. You got to teach me this fighting. So I started going to that MMA gym, but like I said, it was only a small gym. There wasn't many guys there. And one of the coaches is a fella called Carl McGrath, and he was like a former British team wrestler. I mean, obviously, wrestling isn't a massive sport in this country, but Carl had competed all over, and he grew up on wrestling. So basically, because no one was turning up to the MMA classes, Carl would take me and Adam Cullen to Wigan, Bolton, Manchester, to all the wrestling clubs. And then just kind of like by chance, because of that, we wanted to do MMA, but the only good training we could get was in the wrestling. So we met a guy called Charlie Bowling, who's probably the best freestyle wrestler from this country. And yeah, and then we started training with him, and then it kind of went from there. So we spent probably, I don't know, 2 3 years just solidly competing in freestyle wrestling and coming away from MMA. So that's kind of where I got that background. But for me, the goal was always, at that time I was watching the UFC. I always knew I wanted to get into MMA. And then we were doing like a little bit of cross training. We were going to like the Rotunda to do some boxing sessions. We were going to Sefton ABC doing a bit of boxing. We were wrestling in Wigan, Bolton, all over. And then we were like, right, we need an MMA gym to put it all together. And I was clueless, but Adam knew about Next and he was aware of Paddy and Chris Fishgold. And Adam Ventry, Ellis Hampson, all the guys that were competing at the time. So yeah, I'm thankful for Adam that he knew a bit about UK MMA, and he said this gym's not too far from us. Let's go there, and then we haven't looked back since.
Brilliant. Hey, you know what? Actually, I don't know what it was, maybe like a year or two ago now. I spoke to Matt Bonner. Obviously, he's over at Next Gen as well, and I was like, I always try to ask this, especially to like sort of the older guys in gym, like who are the people to like keep an eye on the come up next? And he actually said yourself and Adam Cullen. Which is brilliant. So I've been watching you guys ever since, like especially keeping an eye on you. But then
appreciate that.
Yeah, but this was once you're already gone pro. I've been taking a look back at your amateur days, and you actually got a win over Caolan Loughran, which I had no idea that was a thing until I found the old footage. Who obviously is now sort of, I guess, in a similar sort of
position to me.
Yeah, almost contender style position. Obviously, you don't have rankings at Cage Warriors, but you are both sort of close to a title fight, definitely. That fight, you reckon, will happen again once now that you're both pros?
100%, yeah. That fight's bound to happen. I think it's building up to it. It's like the division's very interesting at the minute because obviously we've got Martignoni. There was like a little triangle with me, Wooden, and Martignoni. You know what I mean? Like I beat Martignoni, Wooden beat me. The Martignoni beats Wooden. Wooden's out the picture now. Obviously, he's signed with PFL. So that's a fight I would have liked to have gotten back. Obviously, being a competitor, but that's not going to happen now. So my focus is kind of switched to I've got the Martignoni rematch, which obviously the sort of enticement there for me is the belt because I've already got a win over him. So facing him again, it's not like, oh, I want to, I don't know, prove to myself I can beat him. I've already beat him. And actually, when I fought Martignoni, I had food poisoning going into that fight. I was absolutely fucked. Ask all my teammates, all my coaches. Matt Bonner was there. Like, I didn't eat a thing all day. And then after the fight, I was being sick. I'll come out in a big, like, mad anaphylactic shock. The doctors had to give me a load of medicine and stuff like that. I was in a bad way, and I still beat him on my worst day. So, in terms of the competitor in me, the only reason I want that fight is because he's got the belt. Loughran again, I beat him, but that was amateur. That was a long time ago. Obviously, he's improved a lot since then. I've improved a lot since then. And he's got a bit of hype behind him. He's got a bit of a name. So that fight does really interest me. And the Cunt keeps calling me out. He's called me out a couple of times. So I reckon that's the fight that's going to happen at some point next year, definitely.
Brilliant. Yeah, I think that's one that a lot of people, it's almost like you've got the classic Paul Hughes versus Vucenic when you got the Irish versus the English, and remember how that both fights went just like they just captured the attention of Cage Warriors fans across.
Tell you what though, I fought him in Belfast when we were amateurs, and the crowd was louder for me. I only took about 20 of my mates. So yeah, I took my family and friends over, and my teammate fought just before me against Kieran Mulholland, and he had Fran Brini, he fought Kieran Mulholland, and Kieran had like a really good turnout. Fran was getting booed, like walking out. It was a bit heavy. And so my coaches were like, be ready for that. Do you know what I mean? Because you're fighting a hometown lad. I walked out, it was sounds. I got a better pop from the crowd than him, from the crowd than him. So yeah, we'll see what happens. But obviously that they're going to Dublin next year. So that could be a potential fight for that card. We'll see what happens.
Incredible. What's it been like to train through Christmas? Obviously, we're not quite there yet, but this is the time. I was chatting to George Hardwick yesterday, and he was saying like, he's about twice the weight he was during fight camp. Like, what's it like?
I mean, obviously, the difficulties come from the gym being quiet. Really, I don't mind. I pretty much train through Christmas every year anyway. Like, I'll have the week of Christmas off, but I never get out of shape. I never get, you know what I mean, like really fat or anything. So it's I'd be training this time of year anyway. Granted, I'm going a little bit harder now than what I normally would be over this time period. And again, the cold weather, that's a twat to deal with, to be honest. Like going to the gym every day, my toes are freezing, you barely warm up. But in terms of like missing out on Christmas, my Christmas day will come on New Year's Eve. Like I couldn't ask for any more for Christmas than a fight. Do you know what I mean? I'm absolutely dying to get back in there. So I'm going to be waking up Christmas Day, and I'm going to have maybe 6-7 liters of water for Christmas Day to start my water load. It'll be the start of fight week. So, but that's exciting. That's more exciting for me than a normal Christmas. So I can't wait for it.
Brilliant. You're taking on Alessandro Giordano, I believe the name is. He seems to actually have some like hype behind his name over in Italy. Got a win on Venator, and I know he was sort of shouting to get onto the contender series for a bit, but that hasn't transpired. And now he's taking on yourself in what could be a sort of number one contender fight potentially. What do you make of him as an opponent?
Yeah, he's game. He's good. He's confident. He's young. So he's in a similar position to me. He's
Yeah.
25 years old. I'm 24, but I'm 25 soon. We've got the exact same record. And obviously, it's a big opportunity for him. He's coming on to Cage Warriors, and his first fight is a former title challenger in
Hmm.
myself. And I know I've been out of the spotlight for sort of 15 months, but I can guarantee as soon as I get back in there, I'm going to be a big name in the division again. So yeah, he's very dangerous, and I'm very aware of that, and that's why I've prepared extremely hard, and I'm excited. These are the fights I want. You look at my career from amateur days to now; like I've always taken tough fights. I've never had a journeyman fight. I've never had even a gimme fight. Like all the guys I've fought have been amateur champions and obviously sort of pro champions as well. Brian Boolin's fought for the belt. Martignoni's now the champ. Dominic Wooden, high level guy. So I'm no stranger to tough competition, and I wouldn't want it any different. I wouldn't want to come back now and get an easy fight to put me back in the win column. Like I know where my skill set is. I know how confident I am in myself. I know how much I've improved this year. So I'm thinking pick up where I left off. You know what I mean? Take this kid's hype. You're saying he's got a bit of hype in Italy. I'll steal all that, like I did when I fought Martignoni, another Italian who had a bit of hype behind him. And yeah, that's my plan to go in and smash him up.
Brilliant. Yeah, I mean, yeah, in an ideal world, what's the sort of the prediction? How do you finish that fight?
I'll definitely stop him. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we'll see. I've not fought for 15 months, so maybe not the first round. Look, I could get a bit of time in the cage. That could serve me well.
Mm.
But I'm confident that my skill set is going to lead to a finish. I think I'm better than him wherever the fight goes. I think people are going to think that I'm going to have to come out and take him down to submit him, which I could very well do in the first round. I feel like I could come out, take his back, submit him. But I've been spending a lot of time working on my hands, so I'm definitely going to be coming out. Every fight starts on the feet, and I want to showcase to myself that I can stand with this guy and beat him in all areas. So, yeah. But my prediction is a finish, no matter what round, no matter how it comes. I know I'm going to stop him.
Brilliant. All right, just two more questions from me then. First of all, might be a bit of a tough one to ask, but like, uh, what have you made of obviously your teammate Paddy Pimblett's recent fight? There's been a lot of sort of, I guess, media backlash, controversy,
Mm-hmm.
people throwing words like robbery around and that. Um, what did you make of the fight itself, and what have you made of the media attention that he's received?
Well, I think first of all, the backlash is come because of who Paddy is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
If that was a fight on the prelims with two fighters that nobody knew, and Paddy got awarded the decision, I think everyone would be like, "Oh yeah, that was a close fight."
yeah,
Um, let's have it right. It definitely wasn't a robbery. I think I've watched the fight back now 3 times, and it was a close fight. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? I'll be honest, it could have gone either way, but having watched it without commentary, it's a lot
yeah,
easier to see how Paddy gets the nod. I think the commentators are a little bit biased because he got caught a couple of times in the first round with maybe 3 or 4 left hooks, and then people are exaggerating. I've seen people on Twitter saying he got hit with 50 left hooks. Do you know what I mean? He was getting caught loads. If you look at the damage, Paddy barely had a mark on his face, and Jared Gordon was cut up.
mm,
Um, Again, and the scoring criteria is different now. That third round, to be honest with you, I think Paddy won the first two, and then the third round, it is what it is. Like I don't think either man did anything to really secure that round. I can see how you would give it to Jared because there wasn't really much effective striking. So you go to octagon control. Do you know what I mean? And
mm,
Jared had that. But the second round, especially, Paddy had him hurt. Paddy nearly finished him with a choke, which a lot of people aren't educated on. But what he was looking for there is a choke that we drill in our gym. So it looks like a rear naked choke grip, but it's more like an anaconda that he was setting up, and that was close. That was deep. Do you know what I mean? So I think if you're looking at who was closer to finishing the fight in each round, it was Paddy. So it's definitely not as controversial as people are making out. Look, it was a close fight, but because of who he is and the character he is and the shit he comes out with out of his mouth, people are gonna jump at the opportunity to bring him down, aren't they? So that's just the nature of the sport. That's just the nature of life. People are always hating on people that are doing well. So it is what it is. But I know
mm.
Paddy, he will not be asked in the slightest at all the backlash. Like it's just gonna be nothing to him. He's got the win and he's gonna move forward with his career. So
Brilliant.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the final round is it almost could be a 10-10 round, isn't it? Like
Yeah.
the sig strikes were similar. Nothing really happened.
Do you
Like,
know what? Me and Adam Cullen were talking about this the other day. Like, there should be more draws in
yeah,
rounds in MMA because I think it's worse to give somebody the nod on a round when it was so even. Like, just give that round a draw. There's 2 more
Yeah.
rounds to score. And if it leads to the fight being a draw, the best of fighting the best, it's going to happen. Do you know what I mean? It's not like boxing where a lot of the time people are, beating journeymen on the way up until they get up there, and then maybe they have a couple of real like contender fights. But in the UFC, the best of fighting the best all the way along. So there's bound to be 2 high level guys that are going to draw with each other. So I think that's what needs changing as well. I reckon there's not always, don't need to score the round for someone. You could just say, look, not much happened this round. It was a draw.
Absolutely. All right, final question. Let's presume we kick 2023 off with a bang, getting the big win on New Year's Eve. How does the ideal 2023 go for Nathan Fletcher?
Well, ideally, yeah, we get this. This is my main focus now, is New Year's Eve. I
Course.
hate to speak about looking past people because I'm definitely not looking past Giordano. He's a formidable opponent, and I'm putting all my eggs in this basket. Do you know what I mean? To me, nothing matters past that date. That being said, I'm confident I'm going to get the win. Then we go in. They've announced some shows, so I'm looking Manchester or Dublin. One of them sounds good to me. By the end of the year, I'll have the belt 110%. Depending on who that is, I'd like to fight Caolan Loughran again. I'd like to fight maybe Martignoni if he's still got the belt, and also Reece McEwen's up there. So I'd like to get a fight with him as well. So that would be an ideal 2023. Take out those 3 dudes, and then I think the resume will speak for itself, and I'll be getting signed to the UFC. So
100%. Yeah, if you beat those guys, 100%. That's
And I could, and I will.
Yeah,
I could, and I will beat all 3 of those guys. So that's my plan in 2023. But first, Giordano has got all my attention. I've got all the respect in the world for him for taking the fight, because a lot of other guys didn't take the fight.
How many do you reckon actually turned it down in the end?
Well, I know for a fact, about at least 10.
Right.
At least 10. Active Cage Warriors bantamweights, at least 10. So guys who have fought for titles before, guys who were on win streaks, guys who were fighting the same night, lost their opponent, got offered me, turned me down, and still got matched with somebody else. So look, that's how it's going down. People are cherry picking fights, but I'm not. I'm here to fight the best and beat the best, because I believe I am the best.
100%. I can't respect that more. And what better place to call this one an end. But if you would like to give any shout outs, sponsors, if you'd like to plug your social media, anything like that, the floor is yours.
So my social media has been dead at the minute because I've been grinding, so I've not been on the Instagram. But my Instagram is Nathan Fletcher _ and it'll be popping after New Year's Eve, because I'll have some more content. But because I've not fought in so long, I've got no content to put out. But gives a follow on there. But yeah, seriously though, all my sponsors, this has been a very tough year for me, and like they've all stuck by me. Like building up to that title fight, a couple of new companies come on board, and then I kind of didn't hear anything from them after the fight. But the ones that have been with me since day one, you got Finer Filters, Macro Chef, Jack Harper. These guys have been supporting me all year, and without them, I genuinely couldn't do what I'm doing now and be in the position I'm in. So I'm very thankful. And there's a couple of new guys, Matt Watson, Matty Campbell, loads of, I can't name them all off the top of my head. I'm sorry if I've forgotten you, but I've got plenty of new sponsors as well this year who've come on board, even when I've not had a chance to sort of showcase my skills and represent their businesses. So I'm very thankful for them. James Garthright, another one. So yeah, but I'm gonna get my moment on New Year's Eve, and I'll be repping all your companies then, and it'll be a good night, and it'll pay off that you have stuck by me all this time. So thank you very much.
Brilliant. Well, thank you for your time, mate. Really appreciate it, and best of luck on New Year's Eve.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Thanks for having us on, mate.
Make sure to subscribe to the LowKickMMA YouTube channel for all the latest news, event previews, and interviews with some of the biggest stars in MMA.